this is an effort by the entire ValueQuest team. Of course, Dr. Arvind is pivotal and carries the most weightage in terms of the kind of technological expertise that he brings to the table. But the entire team has been involved in this. And we have been, bullish on energy transition as a theme since a while now, because there are very few plays available in the listed market. That's another pain point. But hopefully by the end of this, webinar, you'll be convinced enough on the theme, and we'll be keeping our eyes and ears open for opportunities that will be available to us. And we have broken this webinar down into 3 parts, where I will be covering the opportunity part, Arvind will covering the technological aspect of it, and Varun will further slice and dice the opportunity into the manufacturing side and the supply chain. So with that, I'll ask Varun to just begin.
Yeah, so we'll just play a short video before Ravi takes it over on what the essence is.
There is usually a long period of equilibrium where nothing seems to happen. And suddenly, everything changes.
Take transport. Horses were the main way of getting around for thousands of years. Carriages got better, and their use spread, but the transport system remained the same. At the dawn of the 20th century, a convergence occurred that opened a window of extraordinary new possibilities. Innovations in steel and rubber production, the pneumatic tire, the combustion engine, made possible an affordable and functioning car. But there were huge barriers. Early cars were expensive and unreliable. There were no paved roads, no supply chains or mechanics, no manufacturing capacity, and few oil wells or refineries. Few people knew how to drive. Outside a few enthusiasts tinkering in their workshops, no one recognized the possibilities, least of all the horse and carriage industry, which dismissed early cars as a rich person's toy. But as costs and capabilities improved rapidly, the niche expanded through a self-reinforcing cycle of increasing demand and economies of scale, cost reductions, increasing investment, and accelerating innovation. The invention of the moving production line in car finance made cars even more affordable. The horse and carriage industry could not compete. Their deep expertise in the old system, their inability to see beyond their narrow lens, was their greatest liability. It's why disruptors always come from outside the incumbency. By the time the establishment realized what was happening, it was too late. The S-curve had overtaken them. Within 20 years, they were destroyed by a death spiral of dwindling demand, escalating costs, plummeting investment, and reversing economies of scale. Cars could go faster, further, carry more load, and created new market opportunities far beyond the niche of the horse. Cascading impacts were unleashed that changed everything. The transport industry was transformed, but so too were agriculture, retail, and mining, where we lived and worked, the structure of our cities. Cars transformed war, health, geopolitics, and the environment. They created previously unthinkable possibilities, both good and bad. This is our secret, a lens that reveals what goes on beneath the surface, where the complex forces that drive the patterns of change play out. Predicting the future based on past trends can help in times of stability, but in periods of rapid change, it can lead to big mistakes. That's because disruption isn't a straight line. It comes with rapid change and sweeping, far-reaching consequences that can transform entire industries in a handful of years. Who would have thought the smartphone could disrupt the oil industry? But that's what's so fascinating about disruption. It's not limited to technology, but has the power to change society at large.
So thank you, friends, for joining us on a Saturday morning, taking time off your busy schedules. There are very few times when we are really excited about something and that we want to share with everyone. So Green Industrial Revolution is part of our ongoing bullishness in the energy transition theme, and we believe this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Of course, we have this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity every few years, but still, our lifetimes are still very short, and we'll have few such opportunities in our lifetime. So very excited about the size, the scale, and the possibility that this is past the tipping point, and a lot of people have an opportunity to participate and benefit from this in various ways. So really bringing that to the fore. Before we begin, just a little bit of disclaimer. We are essentially, all of the work that we have done is secondary research, and the credit for the primary research goes to the respective reports or the authors that we have taken the content from, primarily Tony Seba, BCG, IEA, the International Energy Agency. These are the primary sources from where we have taken most of our stuff. But what we bring to the table is an investor's perspective on how to think about the green industrial revolution that's unfolding right in front of our eyes. And a little bit introduction about ValueQuest. ValueQuest is a 13-year-old PMS firm with almost $1 billion of asset under management. We have had fantastic performance through the life journey across all time horizons. 50-member team, 15 member on the PMS side and 10 member on the private equity side. We have a private equity fund as well. And that's what Dr. Arvind is part of. So thank you. And let's get straight into this. So understanding the megatrend framework, and then we try and understand what the energy transition megatrend is, then how the alignment of all the stakeholders is there, and then we'll try and quantify the opportunity size. This will be my presentation, and I'll try and cover this in next 15 to 20 minutes or so. Why is it important to understand the megatrend framework? A lot of people, different people have different kinds of investment approach. We believe in a top-down and a bottom-up combined approach. And within that, it is very important. If there is a megatrend playing out, then there is going to be a lot of value migration happening. There will be a lot of value destruction happening, and there will be a lot of value creation happening. So in that kind of a thing, a megatrend is usually something that encompasses everything: the policy, society, technology, economy, environment. It impacts everything around in the entire ecosystem. So it is very important that you identify a megatrend and then try and understand which way the things are going to pan out, and then identify opportunities to capitalize on them. And these are very, very rewarding opportunities that we have seen in the past. Some few trends that are panning out already and where market we can see is electronic manufacturing, defense. These are some of the themes that we have touched upon in the past, but energy transition is one such theme which is not yet represented in the listed space and will come at some point of time to the market. So it's better to have a prepared mind, then we will all get lucky at some point of time. So the structural drivers of a megatrend are usually a technological disruption, demographic shift that happen, urbanization, environmental changes, and shifting economic power. Not necessarily all of the factors should be contributing to a particular trend, and all of them kind of interplay on each other. That leads to a megatrend. And they usually interplay with each other and lead to many consequential trends emerging out of the same. And these shifts happen much faster than anticipated. When we moved from cast iron to steel, when we moved in transportation from sailing ships to steamships, or we moved from transportation from horses to cars, gas to electricity, steam to electricity, and coal to gas. All these kind of shifts happen much in a very rapid way, and usually that becomes an X curve. So obviously all of us have heard of the S curve, that usually when the megatrend begins, it's the adoption of that technology takes a S curve shape. But the incumbent technology usually mirror images the same on the reverse side, and hence it becomes an X curve. And these shifts are usually faster than one anticipates. And also the nature of the shift is such that it's not like the disruption leads to, just to give an anecdote, it's not like when we invented cars were not faster horses. They were completely new way of transportation. And when that happens, new industries are born usually. So the advent of cars actually led to two new huge industries getting built. The entire road infrastructure got built because we had roads. The horses could travel on the cobbled roads, but the cars could not. So we had to build road infrastructure. And that kind of actually led to, a lot of people don't underestimate the impact of these underlying technological shifts that lead to geopolitical impacts also. So World War was actually possible because of road infrastructure being built, and then pandemic can also be linked back to the fact that there was World War I. So there was movement of people all over the world, and the spread of the disease was way faster than it has ever been in the past. Never prior to that had humans traveled so much all over the world, and that is why they spread the flu, and we had a pandemic. Of course, we had a reminder of that pandemic in a far more hyper connected world just few years back, 3 years back to be precise. So the point I'm making is that these industries, this results in a completely new paradigm, and the way we do many things, whether it's business or the way the society functions, changes dramatically with the advent of these technology and these megatrends. So usually the S-curve adoption that takes is first the technology cost curve. The technology cost falls dramatically, and that leads to business model and innovation, and that leads to product innovation. Then the regulatory push comes in, and then there are some other accelerators, whether it's COVID or open access or a war in Russia, Ukraine, which leads to further acceleration in adoption. And that is how the S-curve is usually formed in, and I'm borrowing this framework from Tony Seba again, but this is what a S-curve adoption looks like. So what we have to do is identify an inflection point. And it is first, you have to identify a worthy goal. A segment creator, a novel solution to an existing problem. Then we see where we are in the maturity level, or where are we on the adoption curve? Is this are the early adopters already there? Then there are confluences of various factors. How mature are these enablers? Are there bottlenecks? Are the synergies building or no? Then the financial and policy accelerators come to the fore. The operating leverage, the improving ROI, the policy support, all leads to a business and an economic case being made for that goal. And then, of course, the softer aspects come in, where there's a matured view, a polarized or a balanced opinion comes in, scale shift happens, and it's more social versus scarcity. So this is how usually a trend pans out, and we have to identify where are we in that point in the trend. And I believe we have crossed that point of inflection in the energy transition megatrend. So let's move into the energy transition, the megatrend that we are talking about. So this is not a new thing. We have constantly moved from, okay, maybe prior to coal, we used to, rub two stones together and create fire. We quickly moved away from that. Then there was a 50-year move towards coal. It probably took 50 years, and it reached a maximum share of 55%. Then began oil. And oil also took another 35 years, and we reached a maximum share of about 41%. So today, coal actually was far more important in the economy at that stage when it peaked than oil is as of today. Oil is only 41% as compared to coal was. But of course, coal kept rising even prior post that. It didn't collapse altogether. It became a smaller and smaller portion of the overall energy mix. Now the renewables have started. Now the possibility is that with renewables, if we are to achieve the 2050 net zero emission objective, will most likely be 70% share of renewables. And if we are at 70%, obviously oil and coal and everything, fossil fuel will come down dramatically. So these are the multiple energy transitions that we have had in the past, and we are having one more. The main difference being this time around, the scale. It is not a particular country that is undergoing a change, but it is the entire globe that is undergoing a change in terms of the use, the type of energy and the use of energy. So this is the reason why we believe the tipping point has been reached. There are earlier many issues. The fossil fuel lobbyists were against it. The energy security, people were not so worried about energy security. They were getting their resources from other countries. Well, we have had wars being fought on oil, and US has gone and probably there have been wars in Middle East because of the oil that they have. Feasibility was not there. Not in my backyard was the attitude. Cost was an issue. All those things have now turned in our favor. There is a geopolitical advantage. There is an advantage to having renewable resources. There is a technological leadership that you can take. There is energy security that you can have, that I will be producing my own energy, and there is justice. Finally, we are not going to be at the mercy of few oil oligarchs who are going to control most of our energy needs. And of course, the altruistic need of bringing the global warming and the pollution down. Okay, it's not so altruistic anymore, but I'll leave the justification of that to Dr. Arvind, who will take us through why it is important that we address the global warming, and it is not a fad or an ideological thing anymore. It's the reality and the need of the world today. So it's already visible. The renewable mega trend is all around us, and you can take up any country and see the adoption of solar and wind over the last 10-20 years, and you will see a very, very steep curve. But as compared to what's coming up ahead of us, these scale will look very, very small. Globally, renewable share has increased from 28 to 28% in terms of capacity addition, but not yet in the energy mix. That is up ahead. And also in terms of incremental dollar being spent, more money is getting spent on the renewables rather than on the fossil fuel. And solar is, of course, leading the way. Solar is the backbone technology of the entire move towards renewables. It took 22 years for the world to install its first terawatt of solar capacity. The second and third are now expected to arrive within 5 years. And that is some scale addition that we are talking about. Okay, I'm going to steal some thunder from Varun. Some of the Chinese companies have gone from 1-2 gigawatt capacity to 100-150 gigawatt capacity in last 10 years. How did that happen? It happened because the mega trend is already underway and China is leading. And the projections will always lag, as would be the case in any mega trend. When internet came in, we could not have imagined how quick the adoption would be and what will be the applications or the innovations that will come on top of internet, which will have even faster and faster adoption. Similar thing is going to happen over here. Solar is already exceeding all expectations of additions, and it is going to increase even further. And we will come to know about the second, third order effect of the same probably few years down the line. At this point of time, we are not able to imagine. Way back in 2020, when .com bubble was going on, we could not have imagined that it will lead to AI as the new technology, and something else will come up 10 years from now also. But these are the kind of primary changes that are happening at our very, very basic level needs. So, I mean, in the Maslow's hierarchy of need, we didn't know that below food and security, Wi-Fi comes below that. That it has become so ubiquitous that we consider Wi-Fi is almost to be a given, or rather internet connectivity to be almost a given. There will come a stage and some point of time where we will have one more layer below that hierarchy of needs, which is the energy. And energy will become as ubiquitous, low cost, and everyone will start expecting this power to be available anywhere at the lowest possible cost, or probably free, and all the time. So we are headed towards that kind of an era. Now, renewables is a strong opportunity across all business verticals. So whether it's solar, wind, electric, there are power distribution, power transmission, all the sectors are going to witness a huge investment. In fact, transmission and distribution is going to be a much bigger portion of this particular trend than it has been in the past. Earlier, we used to remove oil from below the surface of the earth and transport them either through pipelines or through road all over the world. But now this will be a far distributed generation of power, and this will the way it is evacuated from the point of generation will be very different from way it happens in the oil. So far more investments will be needed on the transmission and distribution side of the this particular trend. The global energy transition success through 2030 will hinge on progress in 4 key geographies: China, India, US, and Europe. And all of them have embarked on that journey already. They are putting in place regulations, they are putting in place incentives, and they have announced their entry in every possible segment, from electric buses to EV vehicles, to hydrogen, to electrolyzer, to semiconductor. Semiconductor is not necessarily a energy transition play, but it has a key role to play, and Dr. Arvind will explain that further. But the evolution of the semiconductor has also played a big role in evolution of the solar industry. I'm sorry, I'm stealing a lot of thunder from Dr. Arvind and Varun. So alignment of stakeholders. So, it's the first time that we see that all the nations almost, this is slightly dated data, but as of today, more than 90% of the global GDP, more than 90% of the world's pollution emitters have all come together and have had some kind of net zero commitment, or if they have net zero plus carbon pricing, or they have put in some other regulations in place. So there are very few countries left who have not yet joined the move away from the fossil fuels. And it's not only policymakers and corporates, but even the money is flowing towards that, which is the primary reason why we are even interested in this. Because if it was only social objective and regulatory driven, there was no money to be made. But there is a possibility of huge wealth creation over here for a capitalist, and that is what attracts us to the fact that and this is for once actually a good thing that's happening for the world. We are not investing in technologies and scale and distribution that is going to harm the planet, but it is actually going to do good for the planet. So more power to anybody and everybody who's talking about net zero. So this is just a laundry list of the various kinds of regulations that have come in every geography. United States started with a Inflation Reduction Act that's kind of given $400-500 billion of incentives for bringing the manufacturing and value chain of the entire renewables to to US, whether it is solar, EV, hydrogen, electrolyzers, all kinds of supply chain, and they are giving so much incentive for the developers to start putting in that. And this has already taken off. This is a time-bound incentive. And just to give one example to make you understand the kind of incentive, the cost of procuring a solar panel from China as of today would be roughly about 23-24 cents one module. And that in Inflation Reduction Act, they are giving a tax subsidy to as much as 17 cents. So nearly 75-80% of the cost of production itself has been subsidized. In this case, how can you not have a boom? I mean, it is going to have and this is for a 10-year period. So there's a tremendous manufacturing boom about to happen in US as well. It's not limited to India. In fact, it's already begun in US as well. China actually has been the leader in this space. They were the first. In fact, world owes a lot to China. I'm not saying something that is very popular, but we owe a lot to China in bringing the cost of these technologies down. Had it not been for China, who was the early adopter, the first adopter, the costs of these technologies would not have fallen as much as they have, and we would still be struggling today, because we not only need to get over the cost economics hump, but you also need to get over the regulatory hump. And the world has actually woken up now in the last few years, and I think now the momentum is there in entire globe. So I'm not going to go through each and every country, but you get the gist that every country is trying to incentivize manufacturing of clean technology, clean energy technology in their country, or adoption of the same. Inflation Reduction Act, 386 billion breakdown: manufacturing, building and energy efficiency, electricity, environmental and climate justice, agriculture, forestry and land conservation, climate research, and of course some amount to the fossil fuel resource as well, where we try to reduce the carbon emission from the fossil fuel also. So it is an all-encompassing kind of a push to the clean energy transition. And US was actually the last one to join, and they are the one that is providing the maximum momentum at this point of time. So since August 16, 2022, post IRA, US has seen major announcement: 26 solar manufacturing facilities, 10 utility scale battery storage facility, 8 wind power manufacturing facility, 2 offshore wind power, $150 billion of capital investment, $4.4 billion in savings already, 18,000 new manufacturers. So basically what the point you get is that something that was announced almost just a year back has gotten so much of the momentum already, and we are witnessing it pan out literally overnight. And of course, we are running against time over here. If we want to save the planet, we have to in fact increase the pace further from here. This is also not enough. Coming to sizing up the opportunity, So world spends about 18-19 trillion dollars in capex every year. Now, if we want to move towards the clean energy transition, then we will have to spend almost 37 trillion by 2030. That is additional 18-19 trillion. I'm sorry, this is not a per year number. It is by 2030. So $37 trillion we'll have to spend by 2030, out of which 18 trillion nearly will be meant only for clean energy transition technologies. That is almost 50% of the all capex that will happen from now till 2030 will be focused on clean energy transition. Just to provide a perspective, but I don't have the numbers offhand with me, but I believe this would be one of the largest capex that the humankind has ever seen in the context of the GDP as a percentage of GDP. And it encompasses the entire globe. So that is the size of the opportunity that we are talking about. And already we are witnessing that this is panning out. Clean energy, you can see that the investment in clean energy are now picking up. This light bright green bar is the one representing the clean energy, and the darker green is the fossil fuel. And you can see that fossil fuel investments are falling, and they'll keep falling as they become less and less economic. And of course, we move away from the fossil fuel. I'll just anticipate one question and try and answer that. Can this lead to some kind of a shortage in the oil, crude, and that can lead to crazy spike? Can't rule that out. It can happen. But if there was to be a spike, I can tell you that will be the seed of its own destruction, because if crude goes to 200, it only pushes the clean energy transition megatrend even faster. What happened last year when 1.5 years back, when Russia-Ukraine war started, the energy prices in Europe shot through the roof. But that led to more adoption in the energy, clean energy, renewable sources, and we have seen that 1.5 years down the line, the prices have now crashed to almost lower than what they were prior to the Russia-Ukraine invasion. So that's what's going to happen. So I can't rule out a short burst in crude oil, but if it happens, I'm very sure that will be the seed of its own destruction, and crude will lose all relevance over the next 10 years, is what I believe. And again, sorry, the authority on this is Dr. Arvind, and I'll let him speak more on it. Annual and clean energy investment is going to rise exponentially, is rising exponentially. And if you can see, it's happening in every bucket: low emission fuel, carbon storage, nuclear, battery storage, electric vehicles, grids, energy efficiency, renewable power, other end use, hydrogen, electrolyzers. Every segment is going to pick up in a significant manner. This is going to require a huge investment in power grid infrastructure by geography, and of course in the distribution as well. And you can see that every state, again, this is also a global opportunity. It is not only that India has hardly invested in India. India's discoms have not been strong enough to do any kind of a capex on the power distribution side. But over here, when the energy transition is happening, India is not the only nation. Even US infrastructure is pretty much outdated, and they also need to spend a lot more in upgrading their infrastructure. So for us, like we skipped from Bharat emission norms of BS4 to BS6 directly, something like that will happen in our transmission grid capex also, that we will probably never have the grid connectivity that ideally a thermal powered coal plant should have, but we will have far superior grid connectivity for all the renewable sources. And that's the need of the hour, and that's where the incremental dollar is going to be spent. Grid investment level with current, so far more, actually there is still a lot of shortcoming over here. The policymakers need to do far more to incentivize the investments to achieve the net zero. And I think this will be the one area that you'll be witnessing in the next few years, a lot more noise from the policymakers. We need to invest as much in our electric grids as we need to do in the new solar and wind capacity. So solar and wind annual investments are going from $650 billion to $950 billion. Total investment through 2050 will be $20 to $30 trillion. But the global electricity grid is going from $700 billion to $900 billion annually, and the total investment from 21 trillion to 27 trillion by 2050. Sorry, it is not 21 going to 27. It is the range of how much we need to invest. from about 20 to $27 trillion need to be invested. Global T&D investments are going to grow. Same point, I'm just repeating some more data point by geography, and you can see where the future investments are going to happen. Battery storage investments are also expected to grow exponentially. Scaling up the clean investment is the key task for sustainable and secure transformation of energy sector. I just want to repeat the point made earlier. Renewable sources will require far more investments in energy storage and transmission and distribution. And that is the area where we are going to witness as much money spent in the next 5 to 10, maybe 10 to 15 years. Some breakdown of the three. US has jumped into the race with three acts. Actually, they came out with Chips and Science Act in 2022, Jobs and Infra Investment and Jobs Act in 21, and then Inflation Reduction Act. And all three acts are actually incentivizing clean energy transition. And almost, if you will go by where the money is getting spent, research and development, applied innovation, early adopters, system integration, you can see maximum money is getting spent on the system integration, because we are essentially moving from one way of producing and distributing energy to another way of producing and distributing energy. This is the US energy transition, and the kind of investments we are going to see in solar, wind, electrolyzer, heat pumps, and batteries over the next by 2030. So the dark blue bar is the APS deployment need, essentially announced pledge scenario. But if India or any country was to achieve the pledge that they say, then what is the level of investment required? And the blue bar is what is believed to actually pan out. Of course, we are going to fall short. It's not like we are going to achieve all our pledge scenario. In some cases, we might exceed, but most of the places we will fall short on the pledge scenario. But that is why there is a need to increase the investment even further. Same is the case in Europe and China as well. All kinds of energy technologies, clean energy technologies are going to witness exponential growth over the next 10-15 years. So to conclude my presentation, there is a new paradigm emerging. It's a multi-decadal journey. There is a confluence of technology, economics, compliance, and reliance. There is a compliance of the factors which is leading to this. Energy, security, and transition both are the need of the hour. Commercial viability is there. There is a regulatory alignment, and technological maturity has reached. Yes, there are some technology where the maturity has not been reached, but now enough push is being given for those technology to achieve the maturity in the next few years. Thank you so much, and I will hand it over to Dr. Arvind and